Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Alien prophecy came true. Humans became the ultimate predators. The stars looked different from this part of space. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the Earth Coalition vessel Perseverance, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. The Vex home world hung there like a massive blue-green jewel, surrounded by a web of orbital stations that glinted in the light of its sun. "Nervous, Captain?" asked Lisa Tawes, his second-in-command. Her dark hair was pulled back in the tight bun she always wore on important missions. Walker shook his head, cautious. The Vex hadn't shown much interest in making friends before. Now, Torres nodded. Everyone on the diplomatic mission knew what was at stake. Humanity had spread to a dozen colony worlds in the last century, but the Vex Dominion controlled hundreds. Their technology was advanced, their ships faster and stronger than anything Earth had built so far. Making peace with them wasn't just good politics, it might be necessary for survival. "They're sending the docking instructions now," said the communications officer. "They want only you and Commander Torres to come aboard their station." At first, Walker nodded. Standard procedure, keep the ship ready, just in case. Tense, he studied his reflection in the window at 45, his face showed the lines of someone who had carried responsibility for too long, and his brown hair had patches of gray at the temples. The uniform he wore felt stiff and formal but appropriate for humanity's first official meeting with the Vex leadership. "Remember," he told Torres as they neared the docking bay, "they value directness but consider emotional displays a sign of weakness." "I've studied the briefing materials too, James," Torres replied with a small smile. "I won't embarrass Earth by crying or laughing at the wrong moment." The docking bay was massive, clearly built for ships much larger than their small shuttle. The architecture was all angles and sharp edges, with no curves or soft lines anywhere. It matched what they knew of Vex psychology: practical, efficient, and without concern for comfort or beauty. 5 Vex waited for them. Walker had seen images before, but the reality was more imposing. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in a hard exoskeleton that looked metallic but was actually a biological feature. Their 4 arms ended in 3-fingered hands, and their triangular heads housed large compound eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The one in the center stepped forward. "I am Elder Krill," it said, its voice coming through the translation device with a mechanical flatness. "I speak for the Vex High Command in these discussions." Walker bowed slightly. "Captain James Walker of Earth, this is Commander Lisa Torres. We bring greetings from the Earth Coalition and hope for productive talks." The Vex didn't return the gesture. "Follow," Krill said simply, turning and walking toward a large doorway. The other Vex fell into formation around the humans, not quite guards but definitely watching. The meeting room was large and spare, with a table made of some dark material that looked like stone but felt warm to the touch. Walker and Torres sat on one side, while Krill and 2 other Vex sat opposite. "We monitor your expansion," Krill began without preamble. "Your species grows quickly, 12 worlds in less than a century." Walker nodded. "We seek new homes and resources, but we have no interest in territory claimed by others. That's why establishing diplomatic relations with the Dominion is important to us." Krill's compound eyes seemed to shimmer slightly. "Your technological progress is also rapid. Our data shows your weapons capability has doubled in 20 years. Defensive technology," Torres clarified, "we've had encounters with the Krell that made improvements necessary." One of the other Vex leaned over and made a series of clicking sounds to Krill. The translator didn't catch it, but Walker noticed how Krill's posture stiffened afterward. "We will continue these discussions tomorrow," Krill announced. "Suddenly, you will be shown to your quarters." Walker frowned. "We had hoped to cover the trade proposal today." "Tomorrow," Krill repeated, standing to signal the end of the meeting. That night, in the sparse quarters they had been given, Walker and Torres discussed the abrupt ending to the talks. "They're worried about something," Torres said in a low voice. Did you notice how they reacted when you mentioned the Krell? Walker nodded. The Vex and Krell have their own history, but there's something else going on. I've received 3 messages from different colony worlds about Vex ships being spotted near their space scouts. Maybe, but why now, during peace talks? Torres asked. A chime at their door interrupted them. When it slid open, a different Vex stood there, smaller than the others they had seen. I am Miv, it said quietly. A scientist, I must speak with you. Walker gestured for Miv to enter. The alien glanced nervously down the corridor before stepping inside. The High Command has received reports, Miv said without prelude. They believe humans are developing quantum displacement weapons. Walker's eyes widened. That's not true, those are theoretical concepts only. We have no such weapons program. Others believe differently, Miv replied. There are those who see your species as a future threat that should be addressed now. Torres stepped forward. Are you saying they're planning to attack us during peace negotiations? I say nothing, Miv answered, backing toward the door. I only suggest you prepare for possibilities. After Miv left, Walker tried to contact the Perseverance but found communications were being blocked. This isn't good, he muttered. 4 hours later, they were awakened by the sound of their door being locked from the outside. Walker tried the communication panel again. Nothing. We're prisoners, Torres said grimly. At that same moment, across space, 3 Vex battle fleets emerged from hyperspace near the human colony worlds of Horizon, Terra, and Arcadia. Without warning or declaration, they opened fire on Horizon. Mark Davis was teaching his daughter to fish in the lake near their home when the sky turned red with fire. The orbital defense stations didn't even have time to activate before they were destroyed. On New Terra, the capital city of Hope's Landing had just begun its day when the bombardment started. The governor managed to send one desperate message to Earth before the communication center was reduced to rubble. On Arcadia, the farming colony had no defenses at all. 18,000 people vanished in the first hour of the attack. Back on the Vex station, Walker and Torres felt the subtle vibration as the station's engines powered up. Through their small window, they watched as the Perseverance was surrounded by Vex military vessels. What's happening? Torres asked, though she already suspected the answer. Walker's face was grim. They're making a mistake, one they'll regret for generations to come. On the bridge of the lead Vex battleship, Elder Krill received the reports from the attack fleets. The human colonies have been neutralized, reported a military officer. Their defenses were minimal and their response, none yet. Their communications are in chaos. Krill made a gesture of satisfaction. They will understand now. Humans will learn their place in the galaxy, or they will not survive in it. The officer hesitated. Some argue this action was premature, weakness invites aggression, Krill replied. Remember that. But as the Vex fleet moved away, confident in their show of power, they failed to understand a fundamental truth about the species they had just attacked: humans did not forget, and they would not forgive. The hunt was about to begin. Admiral Thomas Reed stood before the remains of Earth's United Defense Council. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes were red from lack of sleep. The emergency meeting room, deep beneath Old Denver, had been in continuous use for 3 days since the attacks. The final casualty reports are in, he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the news he carried. Horizon, 4, 2 million dead, New Terra, 3, 7 million, Arcadia, all 18,000 colonists lost. Silence filled the room as the 12 council members stared at the holographic displays showing the ruins of once thriving colonies and the Perseverance. Councillor Maria Chen, her face pale under the harsh lighting, asked. Reed shook his head. No contact since the attacks began. We must assume Captain Walker, Commander Torres, and the entire diplomatic team have been lost. Robert Patt, the youngest council member, slammed his fist on the table. This was a calculated strike, they met with us in bad faith while planning to hit our most vulnerable colonies. We agree, Reed said. Intelligence suggests the Vex believe we're developing advanced weapons that threaten them. It appears they chose a preemptive strike rather than diplomatic channels. What's our response? Counselor Chen asked, her voice now hard with controlled anger. The Vex control hundreds of worlds, their fleet is at least 5 times the size of ours. Admiral Reed straightened to his full height. They believe they've taught us fear, he stated grimly. We will teach them regret. He activated a new hologram showing a complex series of military plans and ship designs. This is the Prometheus Protocol. It was developed after our first encounters with the Krell species, as a contingency plan for existential threats. The council members leaned forward, studying the displays. Every shipyard on Earth and our remaining colonies will be converted to military production, Reed continued. All civilian spacecraft larger than 200 meters will be retrofitted for military use, and there will be universal conscription for anyone with spaceflight or combat experience. You're talking about putting our entire civilization on a war footing, Counselor Patel said. Reed nodded. The Vex expect us to cower, to negotiate from a position of weakness. They don't understand what they've done. He pressed a button, and a hologram changed to show a new type of ship design. These are long-range pursuit vessels, faster and more maneuverable than anything we've built before. They sacrifice heavy armor for speed and stealth capabilities. They won't win in direct confrontation with Vex battleships, but they don't need to. What's their purpose? Chen asked. Reed's eyes were cold. To hunt across the galaxy on a Vex prison station orbiting a small moon. Captain James Walker paced his cell. The space was barely large enough for his human frame, clearly designed for species smaller than the Vex themselves. In the cell next to his, Commander Torres sat with her back against the wall, eyes closed but alert. That's the 3rd patrol in the last hour, she murmured as footsteps passed their cells. Something's got them agitated. Walker nodded. They've attacked our colonies by now, they wouldn't have imprisoned us otherwise. Earth will respond. Yes, Walker agreed, but the Vex don't understand what that means. The footsteps returned, then stopped outside their cells. The energy field dimmed, and a small Vex appeared. Walker recognized Miv, the scientist who had warned them. Quickly, Miv said, glancing down the corridor, I have disabled surveillance for 3 minutes only. Why are you helping us? Torres asked as they stepped from their cells. The High Command's decision was incorrect, Miv replied, leading them through dimly lit corridors. Not all Vex support this action. Follow me to the shuttle bay. They moved through the station, hiding whenever patrol groups approached. Miv's knowledge of the security systems proved invaluable. The Vex believe humans will submit after the demonstration of force, Miv explained as they reached a maintenance tunnel. Is this accurate? Walker asked. His laugh was bitter. No, your leaders have made a terrible miscalculation. Humans fought 3 wars among ourselves before we even left our home planet, Torres added. We don't surrender easily. They reached the small shuttle bay, where a single transport vessel waited. Miv moved to the control panel and began entering codes. This shuttle has limited range, the Vex explained, but it will reach the communication relay on the 5th moon. From there, you may be able to contact your people. Come with us, Walker said. You've committed treason by helping us, they'll execute you. Miv's head tilted in what might have been resignation. I must return to my duties. The consequences of this attack will affect all Vex, I must work to minimize them from within. As they boarded the shuttle, Miv handed Torres a small device. This contains the coordinates of major Vex military installations and hyperspace routes, it may help your people. The shuttle launched without incident, slipping away from the prison station undetected. Walker took the controls while Torres examined the device Miv had given them. This is everything, James, she said in a hushed voice of awe. Fleet positions, defense capabilities, colony locations, this could give Earth a fighting chance. Walker nodded grimly. We need to reach that relay. Halfway to the moon, alarms blared. 3 Vex patrol ships appeared on the sensors, closing quickly. They found us, Torres said. Walker pushed the engines beyond safety limits. We only need to get close enough to the relay to transmit the data. The patrol ships opened fire. The shuttle rocked as energy blast struck its shields, warning lights flashed across the control panel, shields failing, Walker announced. Torres prepared to transmit at maximum power. At that moment, Walker swung the shuttle in a wide arc, putting the bulk of the moon between them and their pursuers. It bought them precious seconds to close the distance to the relay. As they came into range, Torres activated the transmitter, sending the contents of Miv's device along with a message from Walker. The data streamed toward Earth, carrying the locations of their enemies and a promise, no matter how far they run, tell them we're coming. The patrol ships reappeared, weapons firing. A direct hit shook the shuttle violently, the engines died and emergency systems activated as atmosphere vented from multiple hull breaches. Did it all transmit? Walker asked, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Torres checked the system. Yes, Earth will know where to find them. As their shuttle drifted, systems failing and life support fading, Walker stared out at the stars in the distance. He could see the Vex ships approaching to capture or destroy them. They think this is the end, he said quietly. Torres reached over and gripped his hand. No, this is just the beginning. On Earth, Admiral Reed received Walker's transmission. The coordinates of Vex military installations appeared on screens throughout the command center. The message that followed brought a cold smile to Reed's face. Prepare the fleet, he ordered. The hunt begins. 5 years passed. In the central chamber of the Vex High Command, Elder Krill stood before the Leadership Council. His exoskeleton had darkened with age, giving him a more imposing appearance than when he had first met the humans. The border dispute with the Talari Confederation requires our attention, Krill stated, pointing to a star map. They have moved forces into the narrow sector despite our warnings. Commander Draz, the military leader who had overseen the attacks on the human colonies, made a dismissive gesture. The Talari are cautious, they test our resolve but will not risk open conflict. And what of the humans? Asked a younger council member. Our deep space monitors show increased activity in their remaining systems. Draz clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among the Vex. The humans rebuild their colonies, their military vessels stay within their borders. Our demonstration was effective. Krill nodded slowly. 5 years with no retaliation suggests they have accepted their position. Perhaps we should consider it diplomatic. An aide rushed into the chamber, breaking protocol. Forgive the interruption, the aide said, bowing low. We have lost contact with mining outpost 47 draws. Commander Draz straightened. Communications malfunction, most likely, the asteroid belt in that system causes frequent disruptions. No, Commander, another voice interjected, we have also lost contact with research stations in the Cora and Vexus systems, all at the same time. The council chamber fell silent. 3 facilities in different star systems going dark simultaneously was not a coincidence. Send investigation teams, Krill ordered. Full military escort. Far from the Vex home world, Fleet Commander Marcus Denton stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Nemesis. 5 years of training and preparation had transformed him from a colony defense officer into the leader of humanity's most elite fighting force. Mining outpost neutralized, reported his tactical officer. No survivors, no communication sent. Denton nodded. Transmit the message, then prepare to jump to the next target. On the main view screen, the remains of the Vex outpost drifted in space. What had been a busy mining operation with over 300 Vex workers was now a field of debris. The attack had been swift, precise, and merciless. Before the Nemesis disappeared into hyperspace, it broadcast a simple message in the Vex language, "Remember Horizon." Across Vex space, 11 other human vessels were completing similar missions. Each strike team had trained for years for this single day, the beginning of what humanity called the Long Hunt. 2 weeks later, Elder Krill reviewed the damage reports with growing concern. 12 facilities attacked on the same day, all completely destroyed, no survivors, no witnesses. "The humans," he said quietly. Commander Draz paced the room. "Impossible, they don't have the fleet strength or the technology to reach so deep into our territory." An intelligence officer entered with a data tablet. "We've analyzed the message transmitted at each attack site," she reported. "Remember Horizon? It refers to one of their colonies we neutralized 5 years ago." They paused. Krill realized, 5 years of preparation, our border sensors detected nothing. Draz insisted, no fleet could penetrate, they didn't send a fleet. Krill interrupted, the attack pattern suggests small, fast ships with stealth technology beyond what we believe humans possessed. Draz's compound eyes flashed with anger. "This changes nothing. The Dominion spans hundreds of worlds, we will increase security at key installations and catch these raiders when they strike again." Krill wasn't convinced. "We should open communication channels, offer reparations for the colonies, end this before it escalates into weakness." Draz slammed his upper arms on the table. "We do not negotiate with inferior species who strike from the shadows." "Then prepare your forces, Commander." Krill said grimly, "Because I fear this is only the beginning." On the edge of Vex space, the Nemesis rendezvoused with the Vengeance, another ship from the pursuit fleet. Both vessels powered down non-essential systems to maintain stealth. Commander Denton met with Captain Alex Rivera of the Vengeance in a secure briefing room. "Phase 1 complete," Rivera reported. "All teams hit their targets successfully, with minimal damage to our ships." Denton nodded. "The Vex are scrambling to protect their core worlds, they're pulling forces from the outer regions, exactly as Admiral Reed predicted. They'll adapt quickly." Rivera warned, "Our next strikes will face stronger resistance, that's why we're changing tactics." Denton brought up a holographic map. "Phase 2 isn't about military targets, we're hitting their supply lines, communication relays, and trade routes." Rivera studied the new targets. "Economic warfare, the Vex Empire is too large to destroy piece by piece," Denton said, "but we can make it impossible to maintain. Every resource they commit to defense is one they can't use elsewhere. Every trade ship that refuses to fly their routes weakens them." His face grew grim. "Yes, remember New Terra? 3 months later, a Vex merchant vessel drifted through space, its engines destroyed but life support still functioning. The crew huddled in the central chamber, listening to the sound of human boarding parties moving through their ship. The captain, a veteran trader named Tav, had heard the stories. The humans didn't kill civilians directly, they disabled engines, took navigational data, and left crews stranded for Vex rescue teams to find days or weeks later. The door to the chamber slid open, a human in black combat armor stood there, face hidden behind a reflective visor. "Your ship is disabled," the human said in perfect Vex language. "Emergency beacon activated, help will come eventually." "Why are you doing this?" Tav asked. "We carry agricultural supplies, not weapons." The human tilted its head slightly. "Your empire attacked without warning, killed millions of civilians, did you protest?" Then, before Tav could answer, the human tossed something onto the floor, a small holographic projector. The boarding party left as quickly as they had arrived. The projector activated, showing images of New Terra before and after the Vex attack, the thriving colony reduced to ash and rubble. The message was clear, this was not random violence, this was calculated retribution. By the time Vex rescue ships arrived, the human vessels were long gone, disappeared into the vastness of space. To prepare for their next strike on the Vex home world, the High Command faced growing unrest. Trade guilds demanded more protection for their ships, colonial governors requested additional defense forces, military commanders struggled to predict where the humans would strike next, they were everywhere and nowhere. Draz admitted reluctantly during an emergency session, small strike teams operating independently, hitting targets across our territory with no discernible pattern. There is a pattern, Krill countered. They're hunting us methodically, patiently, relentlessly, a science advisor named Miv, recently promoted to the advisory council, spoke up. The humans sent us a warning before we attacked them, Captain Walker said, humans don't forget and they don't forgive. I believe we are seeing the truth of those words. Commander Draz glared at the scientist. Your solution then? Miv met his gaze steadily. Find a way to make peace, or prepare for a very long war. As the debate continued, reports arrived of another human strike deeper in Vex territory than ever before. The hunt continued. 10 years into what humans called the Long Hunt, the Vex Dominion was no longer the unquestioned power it once had been. In the Grand Council chamber that had once hosted representatives from 100 vassal worlds, barely 30 seats were now filled. Elder Krill, his exoskeleton now bearing the deep purple hue of advanced age, studied the faces of those who remained. Fear had replaced the arrogance that once characterized these meetings. The Tari Confederation has formally ended our trade agreement, announced a guild representative. They claim our shipping lanes are too dangerous. Baru have withdrawn from our defense pact, added a military officer. Their ambassador stated, they cannot risk being associated with the Dominion while we are subject to human attention, as they phrased it. Commander Draz, once the proud architect of the attack on human colonies, now looked worn down. The constant stress of failing to stop the human strikes had taken its toll. Our military resources are stretched to the breaking point, Draz admitted. We maintain heavy defenses at our core worlds and major production facilities, but we cannot protect everything. The outer colonies are essentially on their own. And still, the humans come, Krill said quietly. Yes, Draz hissed. Always in small numbers, always striking where we are weakest, always vanishing before we can respond in force. Miv, now a senior advisor, brought up a holographic display. This shows confirmed human attacks over the past decade. Note how they have systematically targeted our infrastructure, not just military installations, but food production, fuel processing, and communication networks. The display showed hundreds of points of light spread across the map of Vex territory, forming a web of destruction that had slowly tightened around their civilization. They are not trying to defeat us in battle, Miv continued. They are dismantling our empire piece by piece. A troubled silence fell over the council chamber. What do they want? Asked a colony governor. Why haven't they made demands? Krill's compound eyes dimmed slightly. Because this isn't about demands, this is about justice, about consequences. On the bridge of the Earth flagship Retribution, Admiral Lisa Torres stood at 52. Her hair was now completely gray, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. The decade of war had changed her, hardened her in ways she sometimes didn't recognize. Stat report, she ordered. Her executive officer, Commander Ryan Chen, brought up the tactical display. Strike Team 7 has completed its mission in the Vex mining sector. Strike Teams 3 and 9 are en route to their targets in the agricultural belt. Torres nodded. Casualties: we lost 2 crew members on Team 4 when their shuttle malfunctioned, Chen reported grimly. Total losses remain under 3% of operational forces. It was a remarkably low casualty rate for a decade-long campaign, but Torres felt every loss personally. The pursuit fleet operated with minimal personnel, each ship carried only the crew that was absolutely necessary, making every death significant. The latest intelligence from deep cover operatives suggested that the Vex central government was facing serious internal challenges. At least 3 outer colony worlds have stopped sending resources to the core systems, Chen continued. The pressure is working, Torres said as she studied the map. Red markers showed confirmed successful strikes, while blue markers indicated planned future targets. There were far more red than blue now. Admiral Chen added hesitantly, the crew has been asking, when does this end? We've been hunting the Vex for 10 years, their empire is crumbling, their military can barely maintain patrols in their own systems. Torres looked out at the stars somewhere out there. 15 years ago, James Walker had died after sending that critical intelligence back to Earth. She wondered what he would think of what they had accomplished, and what they had become. It ends when they understand, she said finally. Truly understand what they did. In a small chamber adjacent to the Vex High Command Center, Miv met with a select group of like-minded officials. The peace faction grows stronger each day, reported one, a regional governor named Lisk. Even military officers were quietly suggesting it was time to open negotiations with the humans. Draz and his supporters, who still controlled the military, warned another, they insist surrender is unthinkable. Miv's head tilted in what humans would recognize as a sad smile. Ironically, they fear appearing weak more than they fear the collapse of our civilization. What do you suggest? Asked Lisk. We need to establish direct communication with the humans, Miv said. Not through official channels, Draz monitors those. We need to send a message through the shadows, the same way they reach us. The others shifted uncomfortably. How would we even contact them?